to press live buttons. You know what? Before my brain breaks even more, I'm going to press live buttons and say, hello, everybody. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It's, of course, Saturday, February 24th, 2024. For joining us, great! Look, my brain's a little fried today. It's been a long day. But we got an interesting docket of things to talk about, and then we'll dive into some deeper discussion topics and our news of the week. And I've got my good, often co-host as of late, Worm, joining me today.
Hello.
As we kind of dive into our list of topics, which fortunately is honestly pretty quiet this week in comparison to some of those other ones. Like, we've had some weeks where it's just like, in the last couple where it's just a billion topics, and this is just like, a couple.
Yeah, things, you had the, everyone talking about what they're going to be doing for the year. So first you had Christmas, and then you had what people are going to be doing for the year, and now we're starting to hit, like, March, where it's all like, Things will come out, but, like, it's not, like, a major... all the weird business stuff that's going on and all those start of the year.
Yeah, so it'd definitely be a quiet one today to a little bit. Yeah. So why don't we just start with the bigger topic of this is that I've got a bunch of little articles because Wizards is basically showing off a bunch of the newer Magic stuff to come out. Other than they've been pushing, which, is it a set or is it Commander sets? I'm kind of, let me check this, what kind of product this is here. The Fallout stuff. What are you selling it as? Commander decks, it looks like, and collector's boosters. Okay. But they are pushing, like, it's the Fallout stuff right now, which is sort of... It's fine, it's whatever, it's Commander decks. If you want to check out the cards there, they're showing off a lot of different stuff from them. That's the newer card image gallery. I'll have to look through it at some point in time and just see it, but... we also got first looks at 2 of the sets from this year, a Modern Horizon from this year, and the Assassin's Creed Beyond boosters, which are not good for reasons I will talk about when we get to them. Anyway, I guess let's start with taking I'll throw out the first looks. So the next set we've got to look at is the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. That's their, I guess, Western themed set. Their fantasy Western. So yeah,
Fantasy Western is fun. It's a fun genre.
I mean, honestly speaking, I'm not against it. It could be really neat. I'm curious as to how it'll, how it really will end up. But
I mean, I don't really care for the set. I think it'll be, whatever. But I'm just saying, I just like that theme.
It's a good theme. I'm hoping it'll be I'm hoping it will be good. Is the kind of thing. It's like, it has a good chance of being good. But again, like, I don't know. Again, I think this is the thing that, like, when Magic comes down to their original set ideas, a lot of them are really neat and interesting, and, yeah. Another one that's coming out, when is this coming out? I know it's coming out later this year. Bloomborough. Let me just, Bloomborough. When is this release date? I'm just trying to figure stuff out. That's in August. Okay. Bloomborough looks adorable. It's definitely a different take on a plane. It's like everything there. It's an anthropomorphic animal. But it's kind of like that. Like, it's kind of like that. Pugmire. What's some other RPGs that do that kind of thing? And there's a bunch of board games and RPGs that does a lot of kind of things like this.
And that yeah, like Pugmire's one, but I was gonna say
we talked about the one last
week. Just last week, which was like Hedgewood or Humblewood.
Humblewood's another one that has that kind of theme. There's been some board games like it and stuff too. So
I just find it interesting that Wizards have kind of pushed two things like that.
Well, it's interesting because like this one they probably have been working on since before that deal, which is kind of interesting. Or maybe the deal's been in place longer. I don't know. That's kind of like a question.
I mean, it may have existed longer, but then the deal was made.
Yeah. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I was looking through this artwork, and the Badger Barbarian with the eye patch looks really neat. It's got like grass claw. It's like grrr. Badgebarian.
Why does the arrow have a pine cone on it? A rabbit. Anyway.
This is an interesting thing, because is it like, you know, they're hinting at something that, like, you know, anyway, it's interesting. So that'll be a neat one.
This is a new plane, then?
Yes. I think both of these two sets will be on new planes. Which, again, I don't mind if we visit new places. We don't need to visit old places as long as they're creative, interesting, and they do interesting stuff with them. I've always said that. We can keep exploring new places in the multiverse. They have a goddamn multiverse. Just make it interesting. And I feel like this...
I mean, Thunder Junction could be a place on...
well, they say it's the frontier plane of Thunder Junction. Because the idea is... Okay. Just bit of magic history for magic buffs that don't know it. Originally, in the storyline... you know, anybody with the right magic could travel between planes, okay? There were planeswalkers, the people that could do it naturally, but they were different things. Stuff changed in the, like, multiverse, basically, because of a cataclysmic event that was going on, and somebody basically gave their life to stop the cataclysm, but it changed the nature of the multiverse. All the normal portals closed up, only planeswalkers could travel, and they also lost a lot of their power. That's when they became cards, because they were, like, akin to gods before. Alright, now after the invasion, basically those old pathways have opened up so normal people could travel, theoretically, between planes, too. So planar travel's open again, we have less planeswalkers, that's kind of where we're at now. So that's why the idea is that there is some intermixing of more people can visit places, even if they're not planeswalkers. You know... It's a neat idea.
There's like a frontier again where people can actually travel to.
Yeah, it's like...
Planeswalking like space travel?
Kinda. It's kind of like... For a planeswalker, it's a lot quicker because it kind of is almost like more like a teleportation, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I get it. My thought was more just the... It was just more of the, like, oh, okay, they're traveling. It's like this whole concept, like, oh, traveling to new planets where some are colonized, some are not, and sometimes there's new creatures, and sometimes there's
a little like it. Though theoretically, each plane is like, I see. Like, here's the thing. I'd actually compare it to old Spelljammer, where like. There wasn't a massive space. There was, like, a solar system inside a big bubble, and that was your dimension. You know, that was your multiverse.
Okay.
You know, that was old Spelljammer. If I would go to realm space, where Toril, where Faerun is, it would be Faerun, its sun, and some planets around it, and that would be the entire universe, you know, that's there. That's how they described it. And it was a bubble that you leave. I think it's more akin to that. There's, like, a planet within a bubble of reality or something. I don't know exactly. It's the...
No, that makes... I mean, like, I know the concept of planes. I'm just trying to wrap my head around, like, what are planeswalkers? But anyway. It's fine. Like, I'd love to, like, sit down and read. Like, I know they have, like, a lore books of some kind.
They
sit down and read them one
they've
time.
put down a lot of lore together in a lot of places, and, like, you're, again, like, the average person just tends not to need to know a lot of the lore, like, if you're playing the game, but I like the knowing lore, too.
I mean, I know if you're playing the game, you don't need to know any lore.
Yeah.
You just need to know the mechanics.
Yeah.
But honestly, I don't care much for the game. It'd be interesting, but I don't know. Collectible card games are... trading card games, I mean, are, in my opinion, not worth the time or money.
Look, I'm not gonna lie.
Yu-Gi-Oh burned me out on it when I realized, oh, okay, so this thing can just become this thing I was spending a lot of time building up just became obsolete with the new drop. You know.
You know, it's the thing that, at very least, I think it's the difference between Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic. It's one of those big ones. Is at very least Magic doesn't do that so rapidly. You might get replaced, but it would be, rather than your entire deck be replaced, it would be like, oh, hey, there's this one card which I should replace because it's this other one that they put out that, like, maybe is mechanically slightly better or something like that, you know? And they might put it in a certain different way that makes it that it's comparable, but it's weird, like, you know, it's we do a reprint, but that's not an actual reprint. They like doing that sometimes with very powerful things, you know? It's sort of like, oh, now there's a creature that does this instead of it being an enchantment. Or, like, now I've got a land that has this ability that was on a creature originally. You know, something like that. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, but the lore would interest me. I feel like they have a lot of interesting lore for what is a trading card game. I mean, I guess Yu-Gi-Oh has the anime, and Pokemon also has the anime in the video game. So,
I mean, yeah,
it kind of does. In fact, I think that's why those ones tend to be the most popular, is because they have lore.
Yeah, it's true. Lore can do a lot. I mean, we do have two more things I just want to throw out there. I won't stop on it long, but they did give a first look at Modern Horizons 3, which is just it's basically it's a set made to help one format more than anything, Modern. But they tend to make... Unfortunately, I don't know how much of it's going to just be reprints, because they keep trying to make custom cards for these that are specifically made for a format, and the problem doing that is they become format staples, if you're not careful. Otherwise, if it's just a pure reprint set, great, it's fine. Hopefully it would help Modern out a little bit more. That makes certain things cheaper in price. I don't know.
Yeah. What is Modern?
So, easy way to describe Modern, the way Magic cards look right now, that's not always how they looked.
I mean, I know...
Yeah.
Okay, so... Yeah, but Modern is a rule set, right?
Technically, no. It's just basic Magic the Gathering, that you could... It's the same Magic the Gathering you'd play in every format except Commander. And even Commander is pretty much the same rules except for deck building, you know?
Okay.
All it is it's cards from a certain era. I think it's like Mirrodin onwards, the set Mirrodin. So anything after that was published is a Modern card. You can put it in a Modern deck. Or if there's a reprint from an older card in some way, that makes it Modern legal. You know,
so it's just a style of... So basically, they're taking an older thing and modernizing it.
Yeah, Modern is the idea of... It's all the cards from this modern era of Magic. There's also Legacy and Vintage, which I'm not going to get into the difference between them, but that's every goddamn Magic card, including from stuff from the first set, which some is still very broken. The difference between those two is just certain things are legal and certain things are not legal. That's the only difference between those two. And so the idea is, yes, because Modern is still very old, I'm sorry, Mirrodin is like, honestly speaking, over 20 years old now, I think. There are cards in it that were never reprinted and stuff like that have become very good and still are very good. So having reprint sets for the format isn't bad, and some of these cards are staples in other formats. Some of them are used in commander decks and stuff like that. So it's theoretically a good thing, but again, they do say powerful new cards to shake up the metagame, which is kind of makes me suspect, because again, when they make new cards, they risk making them something that is important to the entire format if they're making it for that format, especially one that takes from a lot of cards. Anyway, and then the final thing is the Assassin's Creed one here. Let me link that. So they're doing it's coming out in July 5th, I guess. They're showing off some cards, but they're apparently doing a Beyond booster, which is another attempt to make mini booster packs. They did this with the Dominar United story boosters they did at the end, but there's another 7-card booster. And I'm sorry, none of the cards are common, so I'm gonna say this here. Why does it matter, the commonality, then, if none of them are common? Because they say it's got uncommons and rares and mythic rares, and that seems to be it. And I'm like, then what's the point of having, not common if common don't exist in a set like this? I'm confused by that entire concept in this here, too. Not having entire one of the card types.
Well, I mean, by not having one of the card types, you get a booster that doesn't have that card type.
Well, I think the thing that I really have to say about it is, it's a booster pack that if you want to buy it, you can't do any of the booster-based formats.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You couldn't do draft. You couldn't do sealed deck. I mean, I guess you could theoretically do sealed deck if you buy a lot of them. Because I'm going to guess they're going to be normal. They're going to be a normal price in quotations. I think it's just this is the second time they're trying for this. We're gonna sell you a pack that's smaller. Yay, buy them, and all these collector's boosters and stuff. They're totally not just cardboard, and we're just being more expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, this is just kind of one of those things where it's here are some different reprints.
It's Assassin's Creed cards because it's Universes Beyond. I'm like, whatever. I don't really care about Assassin's Creed. It's not my thing. It got too insane very quickly, and I wasn't playing it, so.
Yeah, I mean, basically after the Desmond storyline, I mean, I didn't even finish that one because it took them forever to come out with 3. They kept doing 2s, and honestly, the 2s were not actually about Desmond at all. I would like to figure out how his story ends. It apparently ends in 3, but then afterwards, I don't know, you're just following other random people, and it's just I feel like the storyline is more just, here's a fun game, here's a fun era to run and jump around in, instead of actually telling the overarching story, which kind of just got so convoluted.
I think that's definitely what they've done. And I mean, that's not...
wanted to know about the overarching story. They didn't want the... I mean, they did want it. It was part of the fun, but I feel like also the whole Animus thing was, interesting, and,
There's a lot about the way that they've gone about using Assassin's Creed that has just milked it for money, and...
Yeah,
I hope
an interesting concept into a money milking, and it's yeah, okay. I mean, the format is fun, but also I don't care.
I hope I'll be proven wrong, but I feel like Magic the Gathering's Assassin's Creed follows suit from Ubisoft. It's not going to be quite as what we wanted, and it's going to just be there to earn a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. I'll wait. Well, I'll wait. I'll maybe comment on it when it actually comes out, when we know more about, how many cards are they going to do if they are doing some kind of, Beyond booster of 7 cards? I don't know.
I don't know.
I have questions. They'll need answers. We're not getting them anytime soon. All right. That's it for Magic. That's just some things that look really neat, and I hope are good, and some things that make me go, I'm hoping this is not going to be terrible, but it might be. Anyway.
Well, let's snuff out that light and move on to
Dying Light, like the video game, except it's a board game, which they haven't gone live yet. But I mean, it's one of those weeks I don't have a lot, so I'm just giving you. Oh my god, I forget some of these like Kickstarter links are insane.
Say when it's gonna go live, or
February 27th. So in fact, in 3 days from now.
Okay.
So I for once I have one of these and it's not way ahead of time. There you go. So this is the from Glass Cannon Unplugged. I also have a news article about it. People created Frostpunk, the board game, and the Apex Legends board game. So they've done a couple of video game board games before. But this is supposed to be like the parkour survival video game. I mean, from the... I've got some images, too, that I've seen. I can give one of the... I'll give the Tabletop Gaming News link here, because it's got some pictures here of the board and stuff. It's got a little city, which is kind of neat.
Yeah.
Like,
is Dying Light more of an RPG or more of a survival horror?
kind of both. It's kind of like...
I mean, they aren't necessarily exclusive, but like I'm wondering if it has RPG elements or not. Basically, is what I'm asking.
The video game, the video game, I think was. I don't know if they're like.
That's what I'm asking about the video game. Sorry.
Yeah. As I recall from it, because I never played it, but I did watch a few people play it. It's sort of like it's a parkour game, and you can level some stats, which give you more abilities or special like things you can do. But it's like it's not like you're a very traditional RPG, and it's sort of like as you do missions and fight things, you get points to do stuff with. But it's also supposed to be like grabbing stuff for survival, and it's basically like. The idea is to parkour through a city of zombies, and I'm pretty sure it's the. Let me just check to make sure, because I'm thinking about it in my brain, and I'm like, am I thinking of the right game? It's the one that like the zombies become dangerous at night, much more.
Probably based on the name Dying Light.
Yeah, like, it's the one where like. They're kind of slow and lethargic at night, and then like quick, or slow and lethargic during the day, and then like quick and jumpy, and like, and some more dangerous ones come out during the night, stuff like that. And there's a second game apparently. I forgot the second one came out.
Yeah,
like,
there are two. I knew that much.
So, I mean, I don't think it's. Some of the concepts of the game probably work pretty well, but I guess I'm curious as to if they can, because it is supposed to be a zombie survival parkour game, can they capture that parkour element with the little buildings here, and stuff like that they've got? I don't know. That's a question I have.
I mean, it'll probably have some parkour elements, but the board game, I suspect, will be a lot like other ones where it's more based around the survival horror aspect.
Well, it's supposed to be cooperative narrative for 1 to 4 players, so it's a cooperative board game too. Sounds like hopefully it'll be interesting. I mean, if you're a fan of the game and you've done some other stuff, you've checked out some of Glass Cannon's other stuff, this might be for you. I thought when we looked at it, their Frostpunk and Apex Legends board games were fine. they've seemingly done a very good job of capturing the essence of various video games. So, I suspect good things, but I'd say check it out. So there is an official Tomb Raider RPG coming out, done by Evil Hat Productions.
Yeah, this is interesting. I'm curious if they're going to base it off like the new one, the old one. Or...
Sounds like they're going by Crystal Dynamics stuff, so I'm saying it's probably more the newer lore, technically. And it's coming out when the remaster of the first 3 just came out recently, so it's kind of an interesting time for it.
Oh my gosh, those are old enough to have remasters.
The first 3? The first 3, yes. The PlayStation
one.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I thought...
no,
yeah,
not the
okay,
Crystal Dynamic ones, yeah.
Okay, I'm like... I was wondering, I'm like, wait, they're making Crystal... Yeah, I thought they... Yeah, that's what I thought they were doing, is remaking the Crystal Dynamic ones. I'm like, already?
They could, actually, but no, fortunately not.
I mean, I remember the hair crashed a lot of people's consoles couldn't handle her hair. You were in the first one, you remember that?
I remember that, but I remember playing that game way after that entire thing happened, so... I mean, I'll just say this. I was around for PlayStation era. I played the first 2 of the Tomb Raiders. They were fun. I enjoyed them. I played the newer one. I did stop before 3 and didn't even get into some of those other ones which have mixed emotions, and people that have better opinions than mine can talk about how good or bad those are.
Yeah.
But from the Crystal Dynamics era, I thought their reimagining the first one they did was fine. I
liked it. I thought it was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you beat it?
I beat it. I beat the first one. I didn't play the other 2. I thought the first one suffered from some modern tropes that were like unnecessary, but otherwise I thought it was a pretty good like building off point. So I think I
agree.
I think I do have at least one of the other ones from like a Humble or something. I should probably play it at some point in time, just because like I should experience it. And I have heard that they do get better for the other. Like it's a pretty good trilogy overall. Mm-hmm. I've heard good things. Anyway, so
yeah,
yes,
I'm interested for the theme of this because, like, I know Tomb Raider is very very action, but it's also very it's action, parkour, and mystery. Basically, is I'd probably say the 2 things. The 3 things, 3 core elements. Which actually make for decent
and we could
role-playing games. Actually.
We can change parkour maybe to exploration as a concept, because parkour is a very easy video game way of doing it, But I feel the essence of exploration, action, and mystery are good there, with usually some mystical forces at bay, because it's there's always mystical forces actually at bay.
Yeah, yes, I know. It's like this thing that seems like it's could be explained, and then it's supernatural.
I mean, look, they did that in the first game. You fight some things from Atlantis, so I just saw some person playing through the remaster, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, funny. Atlantis.
Yeah. Yeah, in the first Crystal Dynamics one, it was all super down to earth until right at the end. They if I remember correctly, it was all eventually explained, except right at the end, in which it was pure supernatural. It was very weird. I thought it was kind of interesting how they were going to do almost like a Scooby-Doo kind of thing, where it's actually not magic, but it is. It's kind of interesting back and forth, but I also felt like it was a little contrived.
There was definitely some contrived stuff for this story, and they should have just stuck to their guns early on. I feel like they did fine.
They focused. I think they went simple for the plot. They wanted to have a very straightforward plot, because I don't know how big they were at the time. I don't think they were that big.
Mm.
So I think they were going simple and focusing much more on the gameplay, which, to be fair, I thought was very fun.
So, okay. so they are taking a little bit more of modern Lara Croft, because I guess even though technically it's in old Lara Croft 2, it's just old Lara Croft doesn't display the fact that she's on the side of, like, good in quotations very well, because she is a much more traditional Tomb Raider-y slash Indiana Jonesy.
The original one is very to make another big reference, the original ones have a very much of it's the personal wealth kind of thing, whereas the newer ones, from what I understand, are more Indiana Jones, where she actually has a lot more morals.
Yeah.
Whereas the first one is, I'm in it for the money, I just happen to save the world.
Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of it, yeah. So it sounds like the idea is that you're a group that are contemporaries of Lara Croft, who are seeking hidden knowledges, thwarting those that would steal and exploit artifacts for their own gains. You know, so it's basically you're taking on the role of, like, oh, hey, someone's trying to gather a dangerous artifact that will do bad things, but better stop them and save the world, you know, and keep it, you know, safe and stuff, and maybe learn the mystery of it. I don't know. Sounds a little bit like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, they will be having a playtest soon. They have a newsletter to sign up to learn about that.
I don't know how many classes they're going to have. They show 4 here: the Hunter, the Changed, the Crafter, and the Companion.
Yeah.
I guess they're going to have a certain amount of classing type thing.
Yeah. And I'm curious as to how, because there's a lot of forms of RPGs. Is like, is it going to be very much more campaign-driven or individual story-driven? Because both
that is
work.
Also a question. I kind of like ones that can go both ways, personally.
I mean, this one screams like it could be that both ways, where it's like, we as our group went on this mission and did this thing. Now we're back waiting. We heard about something else. Yeah. Let's go do it. You know.
Yeah, I mean, there are things where it could be episodic as well. You know, so like it's overarching, but it's episodic. Like you go back to a base and then go on the next one. That honestly, though, also sounds very Tomb Raider to me. So,
I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a little bit. They're going to have their play test, and I don't know if they have a exact date for release or anything. So yeah.
Public playtest will launch soon, and a crowdfunding service of its production is expected in 2025.
Okay. Yeah, there you go. So it's going to be a while before we actually get it, but at least theoretically you can get the playtest soon if you want to try it out and see.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Where's the link to this one? There we go. So
I don't know what this next one means.
I'm going to have to look this up because the link I had doesn't work. Give me a second. So, there we go. Is that going to work? So basically, I don't think it's necessarily, you know, because this kind of thing usually does take a while to develop, but it ironically is coming out at the same time that Helldivers 2 is coming out. Is someone basically came up with a game that feels very like satire-ish, you know, space military kind of Starship Troopers / Helldivers 2, Planet Fist.
Okay.
So yeah.
Honestly, you can always use more. Okay. Powered by the Apocalypse narrative war game.
Yeah, it's satirical sci-fi skirmish storytelling. It's very much so Starship Troopers / Helldivers 2, you know? It seems like they were more inspired by Starship Troopers, Battlefield Bad Company, and Planetside 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Planetside. I forgot about those games.
Mm-hmm.
I played the first one, and it was terrible. I feel like the second one was better. I didn't play it, but I just heard it was. But I was so burned out by the first game that I didn't try the second one.
So they talk about like the planet you're on, what's going on there, and all the information, and give some basic information here on the. But you can. I mean, the game you get for $10 if you want to check it out. They give some basic information here, some features and stuff. So
I'm always down to try. I'd love to see if it's very. I love more generic sci-fi because too many sci-fi games are built around a world, i.e., Star Trek, Star Wars. Then you've got other but I only know of two that are generic, which is Stars Without Numbers and Traveler. Those are the only two generic sci-fi ones I know of. So I'd love to see Planet Fist. If they have some generic rules. I think they're going to fit a theme, though, so it's not going to be as generic role-playing games, it sounds like.
And again, it's much more it's supposed to be much more war gamey than your general.
Yeah, that's what I mean
game.
by like a theme. Like it's only gonna be viable for certain types of campaigns.
Yeah,
but that's honestly fine.
I mean, they do have rules for the referee / GM. Planet Fist provides, and they mentioned a bunch of stuff. So yeah, you're gonna have like a GM character and all the rules. But I feel like certainly it's not going to be a traditional kind of role-playing game. It is much more war-gamey, but it doesn't mean you won't have some role-playing elements there, and you just know what you're expecting if you want to try it out and look into it. Yep. They do have a demo down at the bottom you can download. Character sheet, some tokens and stuff like that, so you can check those out. Anyway. Alright, I wanted to mention Planet Fist because, I'm like, oh yeah, Helldivers 2 is pretty big right now, and, someone made something basically akin to that. Well, not akin, but like in that same style of wheelhouse. So, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you got factions, characters, I bought it. Factions, characters. I do that sometimes where I'm like, $10, I can take a look at this, I'm interested in that. Yeah, and you got ranks, roles. Okay, so it's very army. Okay.
It makes sense, It's very, it's supposed to be a war game. You're supposed to be kind of
I know. Yeah, so it's like officers, assignments, ranks, roles. Yeah, so that's a lot of the creation part of it. Yeah, and then you got like... Yeah, it's interesting.
Cool.
All
right.
Character and squad creation, so you create like a squad, not just a character.
Ooh. Neat. All right. Well, we got two more topics to hit on before we finish up. And then we'll be good to go. So, first off, we'll have some topics and stuff to talk about. Oh, I already put it in the chat here. Home, a mecha times kaiju map-making TTRPG. Build a mech, map the unknown, fight kaiju, save your home. Solo to 4 players.
I still want to try this. I need to try solo TTRPG.
I would be like, some of them are like sound interesting to experiment with. Like, I think that's the kind of thing is they are very like, you find one that's interesting to actually like try out and experiment with.
Yeah.
So this is funded. It's very Pacific Rim because there's like a rift opened and kaiju attacked. Is it kind of more like that, or is it more like a rift in the earth, kind of the new Godzilla? It's that kind of thing. Is like some kind of something opened up, monsters showed up. You've got giant mechs to fight them, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, yep. It has no necessary for preparation or game master. It's supposed to just be 2 to 4 hour sessions that you'd have. They have a flow of play. that kind of go over. And yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of random systems in place to allow this to work. It's definitely gonna, as we're kind of talking about, this is much more of a you pick up, you play it for a session, and that's the adventure you have, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this is very much that
one. $12 for the digital copy of it. If this sounds interesting to you, I'd definitely say check it out. I'm a good fan of giant monsters. This is kind of like one of those ones that I'm kind of like on the edge about personally. Just because its style isn't necessarily my normal style of play. But it's kind of like enough for me to maybe look into it a lot deeper, or kind of like read up on a lot of stuff that people say about it, maybe. So if it interests you, I did want to shout it out, as the giant monster fan.
Yeah, seems interesting.
Yep. Okay. And one final news topic today. We got a Coriolis the Great Dark. Is that correct?
Coriolis.
Yes, Coriolis the Great Dark.
I knew by the name that it'd be another sci-fi thing.
I think it's set like maybe in the Coriolis like role-playing sphere of games, because there have been other Coriolis games, so it might be the same universe or something. I'm not sure how it's connected with others of that name. But it's supposed to be a new RPG about explorations, mystery, and intrigues at the far edge of space. So it's coming to Kickstarter on the 19th. Done by Free League Press. It is fully standalone, but it is a spiritual sequel to their previous, I guess, their Coriolis the Third Horizon. So it is. It technically
coming
is
Kickstarter. They haven't.
Yeah. And it's technically a standalone game, but kind of like a successor to the old one they had. In the Coriolis universe. So how it may or may not be connected, I don't know. That'd be up to the lore. But probably some elements about things will be very similar if you played the original, I'm assuming, because it is a spiritual successor. They might change some basic mechanics, but like some of the concepts, groups, ideas about character creation might be similar. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just laughed because I used MailChimp. Anyway. MailChimp is a email distribution service, but I just laugh every time I see it because, like, I don't know. It's just it's an easy way to do things, but it's like, I mean, I've used it before for my company, so it's just kind of this thing where it's all like, it feels lazy, but I also know you made it a lot more complicated. But
yeah.
It's just
yeah. Makes sense. Okay. I don't know much else to say about that. It's coming soon. It's been announced now. If you enjoyed Coriolis or wants to get like some interesting sci-fi, maybe this will be different. Hey, look, a sci-fi RPG without the burden of like incredibly ridiculous pre-made worlds. You're exploring the edges of space. At most, mechanically, it might be connected to a previous world, but you're nowhere near that. Yay!
Yeah. So what's the idea of this? Is it
It's an exploration mystery. I guess it's supposed to be, for whatever reason, you're on a great ship delving out to the edges of known space.
Yeah, you're on an arc ship, or something like that.
Yeah.
Building into the great space station. Okay.
Why you've gone out that way? Well, that's probably based on around the storyline, or maybe what your GM wants to say about it. It's like, your ship went out that way for this reason, or something. I don't know. There might be good reasons within the lore of the RPG as to why your ships are out there. I don't know. We don't know a lot yet, but it looks nice. It's a sequel to something, and I just wanted to give it a little
Okay, so yeah, this is definitely one that has a lore and plot built around it. So I mean, it could be something that can be generalized, but honestly, based on the way this seems like it wouldn't be, because the idea is space travel. So anything where space travel is hard to generalize because if you have to do like a generation ship to get to a place, an arc ship or generation ship, generally you're gonna have a problem exploring multiple worlds. Meaning you're gonna have one world. Meaning you'll probably focus on that one world or a few worlds in a nearby area.
Yeah. So.
But it's interesting. It can still be interesting.
So if you want to keep an eye on it and check it out, it should be coming up to Kickstarter, and it's from Free League Press. They do some good stuff, so, check it out. Okay, I guess we've reached that time where I can actually, pull together a deeper discussion topic. We haven't had one of those in for, ever, have we?
Nope. I don't think we've had one since before the holidays.
We had one back in January. We did.
True, we did have one for the upcoming future thing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the 1st of January.
Mm-hmm.
First week of January.
I'm looking at my list and seeing if there's something that can inspire me, or I'm thinking it, because I honestly, this is the one thing I forgot to do, is to be like, oh yeah, hey, I promised this, and I couldn't think of one. Yep.
I mean, if you have, you said you have a Google Doc with it?
I do have a doc. I was taking a look in the doc if there's anything that stands out. I do have to updo the doc and put some new ones on there because we did go through a bunch of these. And some of them are I put on here back in the day, and they don't work as well anymore.
You should put the doc into the tip in the discussing tabletop thing, and
I probably
maybe add
should
ideas to it or something.
Do it.
I'd had ideas if I had access to it.
Yeah, I probably should at some point soon. Okay,
yeah, just make it with edit. Just make it with comment access, so I can't add it. So you have to finalize it.
Mm-hmm. How about I think I almost had something. I had something that was on the tip of my tongue, and then my brain broke because it does. All right. You know what? Why don't we talk about our week in tabletop first, and I can think my brain and try to get it to work, and then
okay.
I'll see if I can cement an idea that I kind of am working on. Did you do anything early on in the week before Wednesday?
Monday, we had Joe's game.
Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. We finally got into Sigil. We finished the dungeon with the weird hallway crematorium, which still makes no sense to me. And then we moved on to find a bar and ask around, and we have no idea what's going on or where to go.
We really did reach that point in time where we're in the city, now what?
Yeah, and Joe said he'll do some plot hooks, but I don't know. I feel like Joe could do a little bit better at foreshadowing and or setting things up in advance. And
well, I think the thing is he was getting. I think what it was is he was getting impatient and wanted to kind of push us to here you are, you're at the place, And
we hit Sigil about when he said he would. Early in the game, he said, I want you to get a few levels, and then you'll go to Sigil. I don't think it's so much he got impatient as much as he's just not very good at transitions.
Well, that's what I mean. Is I feel like he gets impatience with where he wants to transition to, so he doesn't let the transition feel as natural. So we were definitely very forced transition here. It wasn't the worst forced transition, I'll admit. It was kind of interesting. But
yeah, well, it was very Deus Ex Machina. I do feel like it would have been interesting if, because that's the thing is, and I could understand where newer GMs have this issue, but in some cases you gotta lead the players and trust that they'll follow.
Mm-hmm.
Which is hard, but like there's ways to do it too. You put them between a rock and a hard place, and then you give them an opening, and then it feels like their choice.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking of grabbing that sword from like 4 weeks ago. I was thinking of grabbing the sword and seeing if like maybe we could do something to fix this, but
yeah.
I didn't feel quite hopeless yet, but
I don't know. The Frost Giant sounded like a very unlikely / unwinnable battle. I think
it was unwinnable. It was meant to be, and that was clear. I'm like, okay, yeah, we would have gotten very lucky to beat it.
But that's the thing is, I personally just do not like situations like that, and because my experience with them is my attempts to use them just never work right. So I'm just like, I'm not a fan anymore of them. Because you can't really
work right. What do you mean by never work right?
You know how we feel like we were railroaded very hard, kind of like into it, which was fine. It wasn't terrible railroad, but
honestly, it was a better railroad than some I've been in. So it was like, it was railroaded. You saw it was railroaded. It was very clearly railroaded. But yeah, okay. So continue.
Railroading never really ends up being like a great thing. It mostly becomes an okay thing. That's where I've been kind of thing. It's always either been okay or just kind of bad. And that's what I'm saying is, like, my attempts to use it have always been that way. It's always... My attempts to use overwhelming force have always been like that, railroady. Which, I like, it's like, afterwards I'm like, oh, man, that didn't quite do what I wanted it to do, ever. And I think that's where, like, my dislike of that kind of thing has grown over the years.
Yeah. There are much better ways to do that, where he could have had, like... I think he should have had... the actual fight have every goblin. So he, just to explain to the listeners or whatever, basically had this fight going on around, which he didn't roll initiative for, because it's like, the guards have that handled, you guys just have to deal with the giant. The giant itself was unwinnable. But I think it would have been more interesting if he had everything going, and then the guard came up to us and said, like, the guard's all like, the guard who got us to, like, do the sword stuff, he's all like, I have a solution.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, I'm going to try and solve this with the wish on the sword. And then we can be like, no, blah, blah, blah. But then as we start to lose, he can be like, screw it, I'm doing it, That would have been a little bit better, because it would have foreshadowed it a little bit. It would have, like, given us the option to try. And maybe we could have said, like, okay, maybe we could give something, and then he could have thought of a bad wording, which could have led us to decision.
I was thinking about it too, and my thought patterns was maybe like a way you could have gone about it was that we were trying to get the case away from the giant, as it was kind of smashing the building.
Yeah.
Have it hit the case, and the case shatters, and the blade shatters, and then we all get sucked into some kind of portal because the wish kind of explodes out weirdly, And,
that could also be interesting. Yeah.
We all end
Rather
up
than
together.
The guy doing it Deus Ex Machina style.
Yeah, it's still kind of Deus Ex Machina-y, but like it feels like it was just something like set up that way. Like it targets the thing and tries to punch it and like does too much.
Yeah, no, that's a good way where it's all like, okay, we are set up. We're playing defense against this big thing, and we have ways to push it back, but it keeps trying to move forward. And if it gets to us, then it smashes the sword. But then again, the whole point was for it to retrieve the sword. But then again, it could have made a mistake. It doesn't have to, So, that's where you use a dumb monster, I think, in that case, too.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like... But, yeah. No, there's ways to do it. I agree. Joe's not the best GM. I already know that. That was kind of from the get-go, I knew. So, I give him some leeway there.
He doesn't do enough to have a lot of skill, unfortunately. Like, if it's like, I think the last time was Grinding Gears, which a couple years ago, and it's sort of like, it's not like, he has mixed bag of experience.
The problem is he has a good story, but doesn't know how to incorporate players.
True.
I think is what I really feel like, where it's just like he knows what he wants to do and where he wants to go, but he doesn't know how to lead the players there without it feeling railroad.
So hopefully we'll have some more options that'll work well. And I just like, I don't know what the entire plot is going to be with Sigil and what's going on, and I think that's the thing too, is like, I would have hoped that, you know, because it's almost as if like a bigger plot has been echoed, we would have known a little bit about the bigger plot. You know, it's like, usually speaking, if you're tempting a big plot, you would like that big plot to, like, you know, start to pan out. And we really haven't gotten a lot on that.
We have. What do you mean? We it's the whole, like, we know the portals are... See, what I am wondering is, like, we talked to Sigil, and they're like, oh yeah, no, the portals seem fine. And I'm like, why? You know? That's where I was like...
Well,
that's the only thing I saw.
Portals on our world were acting up. That's the big plot, it sounds like. You know, okay, why?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Got there, well,
you know.
No, I think he does have a reason, and I think it's related to the...
Well, that's what I mean. I assume he has a reason, but I'm kind of saying, like, I would have liked more hints at it, you know, by now, you know, or something, or, like, a breadcrumb of, like, some information, because, hey, you know what? We're at Sigil now. We have a place to start looking. I was making shit up to figure out what we could do by looking at the city. I'm like, we can go over here and get information, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that I did the same thing. I was all like, let's go to a bar where we can rest up and find information. Yeah, I was in that same boat. Like, we both were pushing the same story. But he said he wanted us just to kind of explore a bit before he gave it, but I'm like, just give us something at least. Give us a side plot. I'd be okay with a side plot.
Yeah, like, I think the thing is, Sigil's too big to just let people explore. I think the reason why he wants to do it that way is because he had a very good time with someone that allowed him to kind of do that in the game, but the game was set up in that way that it worked because they were people from Sigil. We are not from Sigil. It automatically doesn't do the same kind of thing, you know? And I think that's the thing is, he wants to recapture that essence of the game for us, but unfortunately, I don't feel like quite worked the way he wanted.
Yeah, but like 2 out of the 4 people's idea are, let's see if we can get home.
What? Oh, you froze up. Well, I'm on my own. I think I've thought of a deeper discussion. So hopefully we'll get a light worm back, and we can talk about.
We will eventually.
Oh, hey, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
You were saying.
I was just sitting there waiting.
Yeah.
And then you said that, and I'm like, you will eventually, and you heard me, even though I still said it was bad. Okay. I was still getting the red bars. Okay. Yeah, now it's green again.
2 people. You were mentioning 2 people wanted to do.
Yeah. Then my character's down for exploring. My character wants to learn more about magic in the universe. And then Six Bones is like from the plains, so he's like used to it. Mm-hmm. But it's like you and Kira's character want to get back home. So I'm like,
Joe had done nothing.
Feel like he just didn't. I feel like he didn't make the bad guys enough of our problem. That's another thing.
He didn't make the bad guys enough of our problem. And also, like, I thought about it, like, there's nothing that he has done to make my character want to stay here and adventure, you know.
I think he should have introduced our families. And then put them in danger. And then sent us away.
Like, yeah, introducing the fact that, like, these people... Like, showing that these people are deliberately trying to do something, like, okay, capturing the sword, capturing artifacts like that. That's one thing. That's kind of bad. And the way that they went about it, kind of bad, yes. But they could have, like, made it, like, a lot more personal and stuff like that. Like, they were, like, trying to, like, invade. It's, like, it's hard, though.
I mean,
I'm not going to say it's not easy.
What they really should have done is, these people are starting to get in the way. Let's send an assassin after them. Mm-hmm. And then now it's our problem. Like, we have to deal... Like, we're waking up in the middle of the night with a guy standing over us, and we have to fight. And it's all like, they're coming after us now. You know, like that would make it personal. Yeah, there's lots of things that make it personal. I agree. It's not enough of our problem. Maybe I'll recommend that to Joe.
Hopefully we can kind of work into it. I don't think it's like completely outside the realm right now, but like we do need a couple of steps to like really, I think, get there.
Yeah, like my character's down because he wants to learn what's going on. Like I made my character very inquisitive and curious, so that's at least what I have going for me. Is like my character wants to figure out what's happening, but it's not like a personal problem. It's an intellectual problem for my character.
Mm-hmm. I'm like a bureaucrat that's like, you know, I reluctantly came along on this because it was my job for a lot of it, and he never made it personal. And also I'm like, can we go back home? You know, maybe, you know, we'll solve the problems there. Like, you know, we aren't the people. Like, I have never felt like we are the people to solve the problems of the multiverse. You know, like,
Agreed.
Hey, can we point this out to some important people and have them solve it so we don't have to? I think that's also the thing. I think the scale of what he's presented us with sounds too big. You know,
it started too big. I kind of agree. I actually think it started fine. It started perfect.
I agree.
Then when we got, but then we moved on to the next town, and things started to go awry. But then it started to almost like attack the town.
Yeah, well, I think what it was is it started with there's a portal. Okay.
Causing problems in our town.
Yeah. Okay. The portal's unstable in our town. Okay, that's kind of weird. All right, you know. But we went from that to all the portals are really terrible or something like that. Maybe if he had made it like these people are
discovering the portals are bad is fine.
Yeah.
The people discovering, but then we went to, okay, now here are some pieces to a bigger plot without any information as to like why we should care.
It's an interesting kind of weird place that we're in. I think it's.
Yep.
I think we have a good chance of something good, but we just have to have it like it has to come together still. There's like some aspects that have to come together.
Mm-hmm. He just has to make it our problem. I actually might recommend that to him. But you need to send something after us to make it our problem.
Yeah.
Attack us personally. Attack our family.
Yeah. Give us some personal stakes with the enemy when we're going to after them, because we're like. We've always been like, we'll just defend against them because they're trying to do something and they're kind of bad. Okay. But, like, when it's done with, we don't want anything to do with them. You know, I don't want to do anything with... I would rather go back home, my character, right now, and not bother with this.
Like, well, because, like, here's the thing. We were trying to stop them from getting the sword. We know they can't get the sword now. It doesn't have a wish on it anymore.
Yeah.
So, we have no stakes anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like we have to get back to prevent them from getting the wish spell again. No, we know it's used. So, what now? You know, their plan's done. That was their big thing. Is that what they needed? And are we done? Are they done with their plot?
And everything that they were looking for and coming into our plane for is with us right now.
Yes.
So, there is no threat to our home plane. And at very least, you know what we could do? Leave it here! We could just dump it here and be like, you know what? We're done with it. It's the plane's problems now. It's not our plane's problems. It's this place's problem now.
Yeah. No.
Not gonna lie. It's like... And again, I think our characters would do the right thing, step up if we had the opportunity. We just need that opportunity. Anyway,
yeah.
So, yeah. Wednesday.
So Crimson Queen... Yeah. Yeah, so Crimson Queen, fine. I feel like you rushed us along a lot with that one, but...
It's all zombies.
I know. Like, I get there wasn't, like, much to do, but I also feel like there might have been a little bit more interesting,
The problem was, this is the big problem. I didn't have a great way, because, like, they tell me what they want, but mechanically... It's not really easy to pull off, especially with your characters and with how the thing is set up. Like, oh, she's bothering you, she's sniping you, she's taunting you, and then, like, running into other places. And I'm like, the building is sort of built for this, but it's also kind of not. And she's, like, doesn't have the she's got pretty decent capabilities to avoid you, but also, like, not necessarily. Like, I gotta be honest, like, all of you were able to move up to her and intercept her as soon as I had her, like, in the open. Anywhere.
Yeah.
And that was the thing is, I could not have her move away to avoid you then, which is what I'm supposed to do. And that was my second, like, the first time, I had her go invisible.
She got blinded immediately, yeah.
And she got blinded immediately, which I'm just like, well...
Which is apparently permanent. I thought that was a limited time.
It's permanent until dismissed by the person that cast it. Or until removed blindness is gotten rid of, yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you're a jerk and decide not to remove the blindness from them, they're just blind.
And there's no concentration mechanic in Pathfinder, so...
You know, it's... Well, yeah, no, blindness, deafness is pretty cruel. It's pretty evil. But again...
blindness and then deafness, and then...
Just really mess with them then.
Oh. Yeah, no, I'm not saying you were in, like, a great position, I just felt like it was very rushed through.
Again, like, I tried to play it very quietly at the beginning, but, like, as soon as you got into the zombies... There really is, like, there was, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rooms with zombies in them. And zombies are, like, CR 1/2.
This is the one benefit to 5e, is that the GM's hands are actually less tied when it comes to NPCs and monsters. You know? In Pathfinder, it's like, no, this NPC must be built using the NPC rules. You know?
Well, I think it's the thing that it's rather than being built by the NPC rules, it's more that, like, I would have to do a lot of customization to her character and figure out ways to make her counteract your characters the way that you have abilities for. She's built for very generic characters, and there's a lot of specifics that all of you can do that's a little different. Yeah. And that's the unfortunate thing.
She would have almost needed a ring of invisibility with charges, you know?
Yeah.
That would have been more interesting than, like, 2 potions? You know?
2 potions that she apparently used up. Yeah, I'm like... Because she wasn't high enough level sorcerer to cast it. You know, she's like a 3rd level sorcerer. So it was like... maybe 4th level, I don't remember, but... It's sort of like, okay, you got, like, a couple of sorcery spells. You can kind of fight. You kind of sniper some people. Alright, you know... It was just like, you know, it was the unfortunate thing that I think everything was working very well for me being able to, like, kind of sniper and hit and run you, actually until Tavel showed up. Because you positioned Tavel as this, like, NPC, I'm on guard all the time kind of character. Right in the middle of the one room, and I'm like, well... I have very limited options how I can pull anything off now. So I went for what I could do, you know, and it was sort of like, it was the thing that...
It's also hard because we did have a zombie nuke, so she didn't have the cover of the zombies, which was what she was supposed to have.
I mean, the zombies lasted pretty decently against the nukes. It's just also
I mean, imagine she's shooting from behind zombies, you have to walk past the zombies, get attacks of opportunity if you want to chase right after her. That's the idea, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like she can hide behind the zombies because that many AOOs, even with like low-level zombies, could add up.
And zombies have a decent amount of hit points. Like, it's not that Lightning couldn't get rid of them all in one channel, but, like, honestly speaking, I think they have, like, 16. And 3d6 is not enough to kill them all in one hit, usually.
Yeah, but still, he's doing that to all of them.
True.
Which generally, like, yeah, you can have a fireball, but he can just channel.
Yes. Which is, it's kind of an unusual thing because, like, clerics are standard, or, like, you know, someone that can channel is usually a standard in most of these games, so I'm curious as to why they didn't really account for that in the way that they designed the adventure, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But then again, like, the game doesn't start with, like, a great...
Again, like...
I mean, but there are other channel energies, right?
there are alternate things you can do with channels, but the one that Lightning uses is the standard box standard everybody has. Oh, any generally good aligned cleric would have.
Yeah,
They can channel to heal or channel to harm undead.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, and again, like, yes, you have a limited number of channels, and there's a lot of rooms, and the rooms are separated out enough. I mean, like, there was ways to kind of do it, but again, like, it was...
Yeah, I mean, I guess what she could have done is, after we kind of nuked the room, instead of popping out, she should have just stayed back, wait for us to move forward again, and then pop out at us when the zombies
Well, the thing is, you guys were splitting up, exploring, and going into various places.
They were letting us go up while they stayed down because they wanted to stay out of combat. We weren't splitting up that much.
I mean, it was enough that, like...
explore.
The thing is, again, you had already taken down 2 rooms. You were going to be taking down a 3rd right then. And a lot of the other rooms, I'm sorry, there's a room with 2 zombies, a room with 1 zombie, a room with 2 zombies, and a room with 4 zombies. Like...
we nuked the biggest room of zombies.
You were going to you were taking out pretty much most of the zombie threat right quickly and efficiently. You know, it's like, it was just an unfortunate thing that I feel like the building needs to be bigger, honestly. I think that's the thing is, like...
I agree. I think they needed a lot... Like, the zombies weren't really a threat. The zombies needed to get a 19 or 20 to hit me. And my AC was 23, which isn't ridiculous for a fighter character.
Yeah, no, the normal zombies just weren't a lot. There could have been things done. There's a lot of little details in the way that it was set up that I think I understand what they wanted, and it wasn't bad, but I feel like there was some, like, steps that could have been done to fix it still a little bit more.
I mean, a standard wand has 50 uses, right?
Theoretically, yes.
Then there should have been 48 zombies.
I mean, I think it's assumed that the wand didn't have as many charges because reasons. I don't know. Like, I think that's
like that it was given to her by Rolf, who
had been using it for
probably
something.
used it before, you know. But
I mean, but that's a storytelling.
Of course he did.
It's a storytelling element, though, so it could have been whatever the hell they wanted. You know.
Yeah.
I think the thing is there could have been more zombies. The building could have been bigger, and like, things could have been set up in a way that I feel like would have pertained a lot better to her abilities. And because they're just normal zombies. And, like, honestly speaking, remember, you guys gained 2 levels. You should have been level 6, actually.
No, that's why I'm like level 6. Me and Condas probably could have taken them all out. You know,
and that's the thing is,
we were level 6.
You know, her build is not a very frontline fighter build. You know, and that's the thing is, she's a sniper kind of character, or like she's a rogue. You know, so if she's not supported, kind of in bad shape. And you know,
she's supposed to use the zombies for support. The zombies aren't tough enough. I honestly, they just need to throw a lot more zombies in that encounter.
That's what I do think too. Like, it should have been more zombies in a bigger room and stuff like that. And the thing is, that's the thing that, like, it's hard to analyze unless you actually play it. You know, that's the problem there too. It's like, when I looked at it on paper, I'm like, it looks like it'll kind of work, maybe. But as we're playing it out, I'm like actually like seeing how the thing is working, and I'm like, man, this doesn't feel like it works the way they kind of wanted it to a little bit.
You need to give yourself the freedom to adjust on the fly. If you feel like you need more zombies, add more zombies.
I probably could have in other places, but again, like, it was the thing is, like, I still had the building and had positioned her in a place, so, like, it was that kind of thing of, like, I still had a limited number of options, like, because again, like, even on the fly, there's certain things that afterwards now I didn't think of at the time, like maybe giving her, something that would have given her, like, maybe a wand of invisibility, you know, rather than potions, you know, like, with a certain number of charges, to give her a few more chances of using invisibility to, like, you know, break away if she needs to. Maybe replacing one of her other magic items with, like, something that gives her an extra bonus to stealth. She had pretty good stealth, but I'm sorry, it wasn't that good. You know, The invisibility
Yeah,
helped a lot.
I mean, it wasn't the plus 20 you get for locating someone, or like plus 10 I think you get for locating someone who shot at you.
Yeah, like that's the thing is like if for the way it was set up, like give her something that gives.
I think it's you get a minus 10.
Yeah,
I think you get a minus 10 to your stealth for attacking
someone. She had like a I think like a 14, which was pretty good, but like I just thought like man, just having like an item that gives her a +5, it's like 2,500 gold. Sure, it's on her equipment list. She seems like high enough level to have it. That would have just improved it over. I don't know what the hell she had. And if like other characters are giving her stuff, she could have more equipment on her. She doesn't have to have the exact amount of money too. Like these are things that I didn't think of at the time, but now that I'm like I've played through the combat and analyzed it a little bit better, I can say where I'm props. And again, I don't think it was a terrible combat or like a terrible thing anyway, but like it was just like I did what I could.
Yeah, no, like the rules now. I'm like reading the rules for stealth. You're supposed to take a minus 20 to your stealth to maintain your stealth if you attack.
Yeah.
Which is like rules as written is pretty brutal. Like, and also just the fact that it's like, which is why she needs those invisibilities, which are plus 20.
Yeah. Because every time she tries to snipe or something, she needs to be in better hiding spot.
Yeah. So it's kind of just like, yeah.
Yes, she loses the invisibility, but, for noticing where that came from, she had that plus 20 for that second that she lost. Yep. So then she's just relying on her natural bonus, which is, again, I felt like it was pretty good, but maybe not that good enough,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought her character was kind of interesting with like kind of a crazy character. I hope I played that. I tried to play up the way that she was, from the description.
I like role playing with her. It was fun and amusing. I kind of wish Momo wasn't so. And I'm not doing this because I thought it was funny. My character being serious, trying to get her, and she was just being flirty back.
Again, I think it was, like, that she is just kind of crazy, creepy kind of thing. So I can understand, that was definitely the character was just like, not doing anything with that. We're just going to say no.
Yep. Yeah.
So, and now you're going to go investigate the other place there, which I actually, I gotta look into a few things about that one there, too. Because it's an investigation. And, like, I want to set it up because it's supposed to be an investigation for you and ensure it's an actual investigation kind of thing, rather than, like... I think the information I provides some information for investigation, but it also is like, oh, if you, like, piss, like, in this room, piss that guy off, that might be, like, a thing or something, you could get into a fight, or stuff like that. It's usual that I'm going to have to take a close look on it and make sure everything's functioning well. And I think it could be pretty cool, but I'll also have to do some stuff to work on it. So yeah. I had a Thursday game. That's right. We went to a lake and used it to travel into the, like, shadow dream dimension again that we were in earlier, but now we've found out that we have to, like, either kill or capture these, like, corrupted individuals that are basically the leaders and oppressors in these places. So we have to go to this one. We're in this village. Apparently, it's a set of twins that are doing that. So we've learned that we've got to, like, do something about them, and that's kind of where we got to. We've discovered that. Now we have to just do it. So hey, we're moving the plot along. You did anything else tabletop related?
We're playing Baldur's Gate again today, but
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I found another piece of the clown. And otherwise I've been just looking around for stuff. Anyway.
Hey, some good old
Yep.
Baldurin and gating.
Yeah, I realized to find the things I need, I'm going to have to actually just start breaking into people's houses.
Just break into people's houses then. Yeah.
Yep.
My stuff now.
I still stuff. I just to like look for, because like I broke into some random person's house and the person was dead, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I went into their basement and there was another piece of there's the foot of a clown that I'm looking for.
So, to fill in on something that we just had talked about, I did think of a deeper discussion point to talk about, and that is a forced plot point, because sometimes you have to do them. But we were talking about how it really wasn't working as well for Joe's game. So how about we can talk about, like, you know, what kind of things you want to go about to, like, make it work right.
So there's very much this thing that I like is there's a term called the illusion of choice.
Mm-hmm.
You can have two paths and you can make a decision. It's your decision. But both lead to the same.
Uh-oh.
Felt like you were able to make a choice. You know?
I hiccuped up. I can hear you again, but like I've got thrilling death in Discord.
Oh.
Ah, there it goes.
Yeah. I think that hippo was your side this time.
I don't know, it was.
Okay, yeah. So, but anyway, as I was saying, the illusion of choice is what's important.
Yeah.
Whether or not they actually have a choice. So yeah, it's like, you have two doors, one of them is trapped. You open them one, oh, it's trapped. But little did you know, whichever one you opened was going to be the trapped one. You know?
Yeah.
The illusion of choice is what's important.
Yeah. It's, people get that kind of idea that, oh, I can do this, but, you know, it's going to have the same results either way. And I think that's an important part of it, is like having that illusion that, you know, yes, you can make the choice. But again, I think it's this thing that, and that's definitely one of the major ways of, like, you know, forcing something is just, you know, thinking your players, you know, are going to do the thing. I think it comes down to it that when you need your players to do something, you know, regardless, or you want them to end up somewhere, I think is, no matter how you go about it, that is the way to do it. You know, to just do it. I think it just becomes difficult to figure that out. You know, the direction. You know, sometimes.
Yeah. Like, it could have been interesting. Like, you know, then there's also just story points. So, for example, you see, like, we walk in. What if all that happened was we walked in to this giant, and you see, like, we don't even go there. We arrive, and then you see the giant break the hall open, and you see the battered guard holding the sword. And then you hear him shout, "I wish this will all go away," you know? Rather than the first thing where we had to fight it first. If we arrived to that also would have been fun. Because it would have been like, we didn't have it, like, we could have, like, you know, players could go, "Oh, can I choose?" Yeah, you can try, you know, like, you give them choices and they could try to do something. But it's like, in the end, it's a story beat, which is fine. Those can also be fun.
But you know why that would have worked better? I think somatically too. Why did we get sent away? If we were just showing up, it would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like he made the wish, and we also got sent away. Like it feels a little like weird and contrived that way too. I think.
Yeah. So I think there's kind of this thing where it's like. Yeah, so sometimes if it has to be forced, sometimes just making it like a story beat. Oh, no, sorry, you guys are 65 feet away, so even dashing you can't make it, you know?
Again, like, I think it comes down to, like, also the team you're working with. Like, let's say, like, I think a really good way of talking about this is, like, hey, Crimson Queen, if I suggest something to you guys, there's a really good chance you're just going to do it, you know? Like, hey, this thing's happening over there. I know you guys are probably going to go do that.
Well,
you know?
yeah, I mean, actually, that is one thing I want to say. Like, you could reveal some stuff a little bit more organically sometimes. I think sometimes you do just be like, here's your options, and we're like, okay, I guess we'll pick one of them, you know? But anyway.
Well, again, like...
That depends on what you're trying to do. I think right now it's fine, because we're, like... Actually, I think it was much better when we were working with the guards, because it's like, okay, here's what we want you to do next. It's like, okay. It was like, right now, it's all like, you guys could do this.
I think the thing is, yeah.
No, just you could do this. It's like, okay, I guess we'll do that.
I think the thing is, it's the unfortunate part of this entire section of it is it's technically like so much of it is actually optional, you know, which is kind of weird.
Oh,
and because
yeah,
it's
like if you don't do this by this time, this number of people die.
Well, they don't even tell me a time frame. They're just like, oh, if this doesn't get done, this number of people die. And I'm like, okay, you know, it's like. It's like they want it to be a time frame, but they don't give me one, and they don't talk about a time frame. Yeah, they make your own time frame, and they also are like, well, you just want to go from like point B to point D, but if you want to, there's all these point C's that you can kind of check out along the way, and like, and the thing is, they want you to do like they give me 5 missions to do. And they give you, like, 1, 2, 3 are really easy to, like, integrate right away. And then 4 and 5 are like, well, let's take a little time to do. And, like, also kind of like, this is when you want to be level 6 before you do one of these ones, you know? So it's sort of like, you know, okay. So I should really do those other ones first and then go on to the others? So it's like, I've been working with something that's not well structured and doing my best.
Yeah. Like, I think it's hard, This is definitely one of those things where if I were doing it, but you also mentioned you didn't want to do too much of this. But also, because you said you didn't want to have to do too much rewriting of the book. You did kind of say that, like, you got tired of that from the
last one required so much work to do certain things. This one, even this stuff that has been issuing, I felt like I could still live with a lot of what's there. Like, again, what happened in the mansion was fine. I don't think it was particularly bad. It didn't really need a rewrite, but I think a rewrite would have done it well, you know? Yeah. I think the were-rats were, like...
The were-rats was fine, actually.
Were-rats were fine. I think vampire spawn were technically fine. A little comical, but fine.
Well, there was a point, and it was about the, like, second day when we dealt with, like, the boat, where we dealt with the boat, the Pharasman thing, and one other thing, all in the same day, and I'm all like, there's supposed to be a time frame for this? Where I'm just all like, should we be doing this quickly? Does this even matter?
I'm like, at most, there technically should be a time frame, because more time should technically be passing, but I'm like, whatever, it's fine, you know?
Yeah.
It has been critical enough.
That, like, I would have thought the book, like, if it was well written, it would be like, okay, so this is the time it takes to get between these points. You have this much time to get everything done.
I think it kind of, like, guesstimates you, like, actual, like, time between stuff. They kind of, like, leave it a little loose, which is fine. But it was sort of, like, also, like, the fact half your team went down under the water meant that I had to completely change the boat. Because half the people stayed aboard.
There was just no way for all of us to go down, though. Like, that's the thing. You're not going to have a party that can all go down unless someone gives us a bunch of potions of water breathing or something. You know?
I think the thing is, it's like...
Buy those?
Again, I think it's the underwater stuff is always seemingly poorly designed. I'm not going to lie. My previous experience with it is sort of like, I took a look at it, I made decisions. I kind of made it a lot easier. Like the one thing where like you could notice the eels and avoid them. That was actually built into it, kind of. Like, you know, it's like, oh, you could just notice the eels. You can know about them. They don't attack you unless you like go out of the way, or you can do stuff to attract the eel's attention to, like, you know, do stuff with it then, you know, if you do that. But otherwise, nothing there. Yeah. But there was theoretically another combat in that entire area. But the thing is, like, I actually looked at it very heavily when you said, like, I'm like, it wouldn't really work if I did it anywhere but underwater. it was a combat that really takes advantage of underwater to make it any kind of threat, you know.
Yeah.
But not all of
So
you are under
people-
there. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are ways to have done that, like, oh, it attacked us while we were on the surface, but again, you said that then it still couldn't have hit half the party, which would have been, you know,
Yeah,
not
it-
a threat, so...
Yeah. That's the thing is, like, yeah, it really wouldn't have worked on the surface either, and I'm like, there's some things I could have done, but I felt like just, like, in order to make it work, I would have just had a dick move it. Like, something like, it sinks your boat, you know, and that's just, like, a dick move, you know, especially the characters that are specifically...
You did play up the fact that the boat was rickety, old, and not cared about.
I know, but someone spent like an hour mending it too. I'm like, God damn it.
True.
So I'm like, I couldn't really excuse it as much at that point. And again, like,
anyway,
I'm gonna tell you,
yeah, no,
the combat wasn't important to the combat wasn't important to the plot though. That's the other thing too. It's sort of like, yeah.
Well, that's a lot of Pathfinder, honestly. Here's some monsters to get experience.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is, and it's, you know, it's the problem with that sometimes you can't cut out as much, too. I think that's where this entire, like, where I reflected at the end of the session, yeah, I missed a level up.
Yeah.
People are getting 2 levels, because I missed a level up, which was really, like, kind of like an interesting thing. I'm like, oh, holy crap. Because, like, also, like, it feels like we're going much faster this adventure so far.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't think I've really done a lot to speed you guys up, though. Like, I guess at most the boat would have had a combat. I think that's the big one.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
the were-rats were handled the
here's-
way the railroads were handled, you know, and, like, you know, the
There's
vampires
also
were
an
handled.
optional fight with the Pharasmans.
That was completely... There was that one was like there's a list of like some optional stuff that they just mentioned in the book, and I like mentioned it, and I could have rolled it out a lot more, but you know.
Oh, is it? Wait, question. Is it like they mention it and it's like you're supposed to come up with it? Is it that
It's like,
kind of
if your
thing?
characters need some more experience points, you can do this.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that might have been interesting to flesh out since we do have 2 Pharasmans, or Pharasman and another person, but. Honestly, it would have been more interesting than the vampires, to be honest.
And the thing is, though, like it would have been a lot for. I don't know how much it would have been for me to set up. You know, that's the thing is, I don't know.
Yeah.
It definitely would have been
If you need
setting some stuff up.
maps.
I probably could have found a map. But again, like, I mentioned it not because I wanted to add it in, more because I felt like, as Momo's character of Ivona was becoming a Phrasman, you know, that actually makes sense to know about that. That I'm like, you've done stuff that make it have to be kind of a point, almost, you know, because it is like an optional thing to it.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like, now that you're explaining, I feel like it's less you railroaded us for that, and more just the book is poorly written, so railroading is kind of what you have to do.
Yeah, again, like, I think it's the thing is, a lot of the early missions are just like, here's your next mission from... Again, when it's missions from the guards, it was fine. In this portion here...
No, I liked the first book. I think the beginning was weird, but otherwise it was fine. Where
I
it's
agree
just
that...
like, we started by killing the big bad, basically, and it's just like, now what? You know? I mean, it just felt like a very poor introduction. But
the introduction...
It picked up and it was fine.
Yeah, the introduction's not the worst I've seen, but it was definitely one that wasn't great.
But now the second book, I feel like it's just a lot of individual things out a lot of things, and to get us between them, it's basically just like, here's a list.
Well, again, like,
now go.
The first part, up until like you basically learn there's a plague, worked pretty well, I think. You know,
I agree.
You know, so it's like, I feel like, because it's actually 3 parts as the book. Part 2 is where it falls apart. Basically, again, they give me point A, and they give me point C, and point B sucks.
Yeah. Well, I guess it'll pick up. Yeah. Honestly, this book seems. I can tell this story has a lot of potential, but I feel like, man, we hit a real rough patch right now.
again, I think it's never been as bad as certain of the things in like Skulls and Shackles was, but it certainly has had some issues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, again, I'd just say the past 2-3 sessions have been just really like, I guess we do it because we don't have anything else to do, you know?
I think that's the thing is, like, it's one of those it's also like one of those situations where the setup railroads you in such a way that makes it very difficult to just be like, oh, hey, we're gonna go do stuff. Because, you know, or we're gonna like do some of that like role playing kind of working together kind of stuff, because they're like, well, you know, there's a plague going on, and then it's kind of like, well, that makes it difficult to kind of be like, well, I guess we're gonna go do this then, you know, because we're dealing with this, you know, thing going on.
I just think like, honestly, now that we have like plot in a direction, I feel like it's fine. I just feel like the last like 2 sessions were just so bad. Where it's just like, here's a list of things to do them. Okay, now we have a clue. We have an actual clue, and we're actually going to do something.
I'm going to tell you, there was an interesting thing about this entire like clue that was kind of strange, because they talk about it as if you could have found clues anywhere else other than the mansion, and I'm like, I guess maybe
we did on the quarantine boat.
Yeah, the quarantine boat gave you something that you could have looked into something, and I guess I could have just like figured something out that. Well, again, like quarantine boat gives you.
Well, I think the quarantine boat was the information and how we got it was fine. I agree that it just felt a little too easy, but then as you explained, the monster was just bad, so it wouldn't have been fun. But the
aquatic monsters,
the vampires feel like if we didn't have this very specific caster who can take control of the undead, we wouldn't have gotten any information from that.
Well, again, like, I did think about having stuff being left there that could have given you hints, actually. But I just didn't need to do that then because you did the mind control trick. I was thinking of having one of them, like, a note on it that would have had some of the information, but you got, like, all the information then instead. And again, all that information does help, but it's not, like, the basics of, like, they're vampires in from Ustalov, you know, working for someone else, technically, that they've gotten away from, you know.
I think the were-rats, honestly, were very poorly written. I feel like it would have been much more interesting if there had been some signs of were-rat attacks. And now people are starting to believe that the were-rats, can you go deal... I think that would have just been better as a, here's this group that's starting an uprising, can you go deal with them before it gets out of hand?
Well, like, apparently there had been a lynching of one of them, you know, that had, like, you know, brought about this a little bit too. But again, like,
that just made us want to go in and talk to them and be like, hey, but realistically... But then the book goes and says that what you told us was, oh yeah, no, it basically just said this guy is just out for blood and there's nothing.
Well, again, like,
well, then why did we?
You could have convinced his followers. You know, honestly speaking, you actually could have. You just rolled really bad.
Fair.
You know.
Yeah, but
his followers were.
But we also got no clues from it. It was just, here's another thing that's happening, which I was just like, okay.
Yeah, like, that was the thing is,
like,
when I first got into that section, I gave you, like, the 3 options kind of thing, and you guys wanted to go the were-rats first, and I finally, like, you know, like, I kind of looked it over, I kind of read over it, but, like, you know, it's like, again, mulling it over and actually working through it, you begin to, like, understand it a little bit more, you know?
Yeah.
It's sort of like, oh... There's some issues here.
Yeah. So, anyway, it's a whatever. I think it's been fine. I
think that's at most what it is. It's been it's been a fine at most.
Yeah, and that's why I brought it up with railroading, because it's just been super railroady. It's been, here are the only things you can do. You know, here's a list. Do them, and then we can move on. And that's why it feels railroady. And yeah, there are ways you could have rewritten And honestly, the only way around this, it sounds like, is for you to have rewritten a chunk of it. So,
there was some things that I probably could have done a little. Like, I think.
But also, you've been I'll be honest, you have been real busy these past few weeks.
I think with the were-rats, there could have been more I could have done with that one. I think that's one I could point out that like would have been easier to work on. Like, the boat, I have no idea what I could have done with that. That was different off the top of my head. I might have been able to think of something,
I think, honestly, the boat doesn't bother me. It was the ones that bothered me were the were-rats, the perfume shop, and the
perfume shop
spawn. Those three just felt like completely unnecessary and just things for experience.
Well, I think the vampire spawn are supposed to be another hint about what's going on. That there's some kind of plot going on and leads you in a direction. So it's supposed to be like, yeah.
Unless you left us hints, because apparently it sounds like the book didn't. So unless we like did what we did, but
I think the thing is,
do
what
we did, or it sounds like what would have just happened is something to look back on and be like, so that's where they were vampires.
Yeah, I think there should have been more hints, but the problem is sort of like some of the things were like, I think it's kind of hard to tell where the book is telling you this is where the hint would be. I think some of that stuff is there, like, definitely, like, it's very easy to notice and stuff. Like remember the vampire spawn? Until I was reading on the treasures, I didn't know that they actually had coffins there and where they were.
Yeah, that was funny. You're just like, oh, they don't have coffins here. Like,
I was like, looking through it, I'm like, I guess they don't have coffins here? I guess they don't? And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, wait, I'm reading this treasures that you're getting. Oh, there's coffins here.
There's treasures in their coffins. Oh, in the basement. Oh!
The basement you don't describe anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, railroading is an interesting thing. I think a good thing is, if I'm going to give advice on it, I'd probably say set piece things are fine. Players will still want to interact with the set piece scenes, the cut scenes, basically. They'll still want to interact with them. That's fine. Just be creative and make sure that what you want happens. There are ways around that easily. Just give someone a power or an ability or something. Like, the person that they managed to take the MacGuffin before it can be used. Well, then have like them use Entangle and then walk up and grab it or something.
Yeah.
Grab it back. Like,
and the thing is,
things you can do.
It comes down to some of the times when it comes to making it work. It comes down to improvisation. So it might not work as well as you want it to ever. Like,
Yeah, and here's the other thing: if the players work it out and break it, you can then be like, okay, cool, and that's that. You guys resolved it, and then just make something else that does something similar. So there are ways you can work around it too. Sometimes you have to just let the players rolled like 4 nat 20s in a scene trying to stop you, and you're just like, okay, fine, it's done, and then you can just move on.
Yeah. The thing is, like, you getting the plot from A to C is what you want to do. Just be ready to morph that you're not maybe going from A to C will involve you going to like D and then back to C or something like that, Sometimes it needs that, and yeah.
Players, the only thing you can predict with players is that they will be unpredictable.
And sometimes you do have to force the point. It's just like you gotta master subtlety and make it work.
Yeah. I mean, basically, there's also the point of, and this is kind of the thing. I would say, make a cutscene. When the players trying to interact, make them roll a shit ton, because they're eventually going to fail, and then you can just continue as you want. However, if they do get lucky, which does happen, then you have to reward them for that.
Yeah.
You can make it really difficult, but if they still succeed, then, oh well, your plot point is ruined. You can make another one.
Yeah. You can figure it out.
Yeah. There are ways to hinder, but no ways to completely stop. And the only ways to completely stop, railroad.
Yeah, good old players. They know how to mess with things. Don't worry about it. But yeah, I guess that's about it. I think that's the thing is the railroading, the forced plot points are sometimes things you have to do. Just be creative, be ready to adapt, be ready to add like an entirely another thing in,
and make it seem like the players have a choice, even if they don't really.
Yeah, and don't push too hard because that could kind of backlash on players.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. That sounds like a great place to end it there. We've talked about all our stuff, so I think we're good to go. Thank you for joining us. Worm, give a shout out.
Yeah, I'm Diamondwyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/Diamondwyrm or at Diamondwyrm on Twitter. My next stream will be tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. PST.
Cool.
As it usually is after Saturday.
Yeah, 10th hour of Dracovin. I have to be honest, I'm going to see. I'm like 66% sure I might take off on Monday. I'm kind of tired from today, and I'm going to have another busy day tomorrow. So it's a very busy weekend. I might take off on Monday and relax a little bit. Otherwise, though, it'll be a normal schedule by Tuesday. If I don't, I'll play more of the Parasite Eve 2 randomizer. We'll finish it this week. It was been very fun to check it out. Works pretty well. Definitely, I can see some potential for fixing it up in the future, but it's really cool randomizer that works pretty decently, I think, so far.
It seems to work pretty well for what it is already.
There have been a few weirdnesses with, like, things that have happened here and there, but
there's
nothing.
The monster falling through a floor, and then there's the fact that you had to basically unlock an ability to get past an area,
Yeah, they're like, hey, this monster that, if you don't have the firepower to kill normally. I'm like, then I will unlock the ability to defeat them. Yeah. The one monster that fell through the floor of the first session, that was a fun one. That I'm like, well, I guess we're not fighting these things.
Yeah. Kill it in one shot.
I didn't have the ability to.
I know.
Tabletop stuff then on rest of the week. Yes. English work well. So expect all that. I guess that's everything. I can't think of anything else to shout out. I think I hit up all the major plot points. Anyway, all right. If I do feel like Monday, I'll let people know like Sunday night how I feel like. But I'm gonna say more than likely I'll be back on Tuesday. I'll be back on Tuesday then. So. All right, everybody, have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Saturdays, Sundays, etc., etc. Thank you once again, Warren, for joining. And until the next time, I'll say everybody, bye, farewell, bye.